Today I'm reacting to your SummerSlam 2024 Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether they're good or bad, about the current state of professional wrestling. In this special episode of Hot Takes, we're going to be listening to your SummerSlam 2024 thoughts. So if you want to be featured in the next premium live event version of Hot Takes, or any of the Hot Takes that take place after Raw or SmackDown, make sure that you're following me on X. I'll ask for your hot take after every WWE premium live event or after every episode of Raw and SmackDown. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're gonna fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And folks, we are back from SummerSlam. I'm back in the studio. I'm out of the hotel room. I got my proper gear, so let's read your stupid shit. Best show of the year not named WrestleMania. Not a single bad booking decision. Genuinely a perfect show through and through. I have to agree with you. I do think that this is the best WWE premium live event of 2024 outside of WrestleMania. However, I will say that pound for pound, this is up there with any one of the individual days of WrestleMania 40. Really, WrestleMania 40 was better because it had more matches to be able to make a bigger, more lasting impact. And of course, that insane main event of WrestleMania 40, but just as a single individual card and the execution of the individual SummerSlam night, it was arguably better than any of the individual nights of WrestleMania 40. I'm just saying. But again, as a whole, I think WrestleMania 40 is the better show. But I like what you said, the booking decisions, because you could sit here and you can try and overanalyze and say that as a wrestling show in terms of in-ring action, that there's better shows out there. And I wouldn't try to argue against you. I would say that the reason why this show is going to stand the test of time is because of the booking decisions. They made all of the right calls. They took the storylines in all of the right directions. They reset storylines and they really just gave fans exactly what they've been wanting. Sometimes it's okay to just pull the trigger on something that fans want rather than making them wait for 6 months and hide behind the guise of it's just long-term storytelling. Sometimes just give the fans the payoff, and WrestleMania, I'm confusing it with WrestleMania because it was so good. SummerSlam 2024 was a good example of when to finally pay off moments and give the fans what they want. And when you give the fans what they want, they'll come out for support and say that it was an awesome show, as pretty much everyone is online. Nia and Bayley's match should have been cut shorter to give Sami and Braun more time. So I actually disagree with you. I actually personally really like Nia Jax versus Bayley as a match and how it ultimately built up. I think that it was very good. And without that time, I don't think that the last 5 minutes, which was like the best portion of that match, has enough time to build to that moment. So I don't think that we need to take away from any one particular match to try and make Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn a better affair. I think that 5 minutes was actually the perfect amount of time for Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. What I would have personally liked to see was a lot more violence and a lot more badassery and destruction of Sami Zayn within those 5 minutes by the hands of Braun Breaker. Because as it stands, I still feel like PLE Braun Breaker just is nowhere near as badass as Monday Night Raw Braun Breaker. Monday Night Raw Braun Breaker is ending careers. Monday Night Raw Braun Breaker is spearing people through barricades. Monday Night Raw Braun Breaker is using chairs and launching them overhead. Like, that is the Braun Breaker that I would like to see at a premium live show, and we haven't just yet. This just seemed like a quick squash match as opposed to an annihilation, which is what I would have personally liked to see. 5 minutes would have been a perfect amount of time to destroy Sami Zayn, but as it stands, it was just a regular match within 5 minutes, which I don't think was ideal. But trying to find a way to give it more time, I don't think is actually the way to fix that match. I don't know how it sounded on TV, but SummerSlam crowd this year was 100 times better than last year. I was at both, and last year's doesn't even compare to this one. I was at this show. I wasn't at SummerSlam last year. However, I had a lot of friends that were there, and from their experience, I think that they would agree with you. And from the experience of people watching at home, it seems like they would all agree with you as well, because I had major complaints about the crowd noise at SummerSlam 2023, and it seems like everyone that that watched the show from home is saying that the crowd was rowdy and loud from beginning to end, and that was my experience when I was there. And there's been numerous moments where I've made fun of a quiet crowd only for people to come into the comments section a day after and say that they were there and that it was actually loud and that it was just poorly portrayed on TV. I actually just think that this year the crowd was loud and it portrayed properly on TV. But yeah, of course you're gonna have a hot crowd with such a great card. We had great weather as well. It wasn't too hot. It didn't rain. It was just perfect wrestling conditions. And then you give us good booking decisions, people are gonna be ecstatic from the beginning all the way to the end of the show. Better than the event itself. I wasn't better than the show, but thank you for the sentiment and thank you for treating me so kindly when I was in Cleveland. I'm talking to you, Johnny, who submitted this photo, but also to the damn near like 300 people that approached me to take photos. I gotta tell you, I got a problem with a couple of you, but not really. I tried to go to the bathroom. I had to take a big piss during SummerSlam, and I couldn't get to the bathroom because so many people were asking questions. Oh, first world problems. But seriously, thank you for making me feel like a little bit of a rock star for a day. That is the only place where I'll be popular because frankly, I'm just a loser outside of the world of professional wrestling. Randy and Kevin Owens showing up was a letdown. I don't get having such dramatic SmackDown endings and weeks of, quote, who will help Cody? Turns out to be the guys we were being told wouldn't be there, especially with Arn Anderson's segment. The Arn Anderson segment led me to believe, and call me crazy, that we were going to have Dustin Rhodes come out to help, especially when he said that he still had some pull backstage. I was like, damn, are we actually going to get Goldust or Dustin come out to help make the save? Because that's now what Bloodline Rules is known to be. It's supposed to be these shock surprises, and what better way to bookend a Bloodline Rules match than to have somebody from the Bloodline that isn't a member of the Bloodline, but a Bloodline family member of the guy that's going up against the Bloodline in Cody Rhodes. That's where I thought things were gonna go, bro. Obviously, that's crazy talk, but that's kind of the expectation that was set for me, which is insane to say with Arn Anderson being there. Look, I still pop for Kevin Owens. I still pop for Randy Orton. We still sang his theme song, but I actually do understand where you're coming from. I do think that to a degree that those aren't necessarily like shocks, but still it got people out of their seats. It would have been nice to have somebody else aside from Kevin Owens and Randy Orton as well. They could have added one more person to help, level things out against Jacob Fatu, but ultimately it ended up being Roman, which obviously was freaking amazing, and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot more about Roman Reigns in this video. Damian and Gunther was an incredible match with a great ending, but I feel like Damian's reign could have gone on longer. He was just starting to really get over and build himself as a main event player. So there's a couple things that I want to talk about. I think that you're right about this. It's just so heartbreaking to see Damian Priest's run end as, we're starting to finally get behind him, as we want to see him be El Campeón. But it's also kind of crazy to think about that a couple months ago, so many of us just didn't see Damian Priest as this legitimate champion. And we got this really unique situation that we saw a lot of back in the Ruthless Aggression era when the WWE would be like, well, shit, let's just try this guy. Let's see what Randy Orton can do with the title. Let's see what JBL could do with the title. Let's see what Eddie Guerrero can do with the title. Let's try Rey Mysterio. In the Ruthless Aggression era, they tried with so many different guys and tried to let the guy get over as the champion, as opposed to putting the championship on the most over guy. And that seemed to be what was the formula for Damian Priest. Damian Priest wasn't particularly over or super hot where people are like, man, we got to make this guy world champion. But they took a risk with him. They made him world champion, and they basically told him, go get yourself over as champion. And he did, to the point where people were finally clamoring for him to win this. So yeah, little bit heartbreaking, but this to me solidified Damian Priest as a main event player for the rest of his career. So shout out to the WWE for giving Damian Priest this opportunity to get himself over as a main event guy, but also huge shout out to Damian Priest for getting himself over as a main event guy. The implosion of the Judgment Day was beautifully circular, born from betrayal, deceit, and cruelty, fell apart exactly because of that. Very poetic. Damn, all right, we got a Shakespeare up in the house. But yeah, everything that you're saying, I 100% agree with. This is actually like really beautifully well written. And it's also all entirely true. If you look at just every member of the Judgment Day and how they came in, they embody all of those things that you mentioned: betrayal, deceit, and cruelty. No, you got me like with goosebumps like The Rock. I'm over here now showing the forearm, and I'm about to tell you that it's gonna be Bloodline rules. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. There you go, kid. So this would have been short. Oh man, Jeff, there's another table.
Where are these tables spawning from?
Oh
my God! Invisible Man is dead.
Let's go.
Oh my God!
All right, give me my money, man.
Oh, nice. That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, which is available exclusively on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're going to be looking at the 2002 Tables, Ladders, and Chairs Classic. We're looking at the famous Randy Orton versus Cactus Jack street fight from Backlash 2004. We're looking at the famous The Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan in GCW. We're looking at Edge versus Jeff Hardy in a ladder match for the World Heavyweight Championship at Extreme Rules 2009. And the technical classic that was CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan at Over the Limit 2012. You can find these and every single other Wrestling is Cool Match Club watch along that we've done over on patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, you'll also get the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, and the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everyone else in the world. So go check it out. I'm confident that if you even give it just 1 month, that you're gonna fall in love with it. There's content that we release on there that cannot appear on YouTube. It's just impossible. And there's content every single day on the Patreon. Okay, that's it. Back to the video. Bayley should have beat Nia via roll-up, and then Nia should have rage quit, destroying Bayley, setting up a cash-in and new WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton. People are just clearly not okay with Nia Jax being champion, and I don't get it. I feel like she's done everything imaginable to show the world that she is worthy of the position that she's in right now, but I don't think that it was the right call to have Tiffany Stratton cash in on that very night, considering she just got her briefcase, and I really think that she's gonna turn this into a Carmella-like run as Miss Money in the Bank, where she's really going to be a highly touted, well-remembered Miss Money in the Bank, somebody that turns the Money in the Bank into not just something that elevates them, but she herself is going to help elevate that Money in the Bank briefcase. I just see it coming. It's still months away, in my opinion. And to do the cash in on that night, like basically a day after getting the new briefcase, I think would have been doing it a bit of a disservice. It's funny that I'm saying this because earlier in this video, we were talking about giving fans the instant gratification. And I don't think we deserve the instant gratification on this one just yet. Santi, who main events Bad Blood? The options are CM Punk versus Seth, Roman versus Solo, Damian versus Finn. Also, oil up, buddy. Here's the thing. I don't think that Roman would be on Bad Blood. I think that Roman Reigns really is going to be on just the major PLEs. And, you know, sorry, Atlanta, I just don't think that you got one with Bad Blood as much as I'm looking forward to potentially a Hell in a Cell match in there. If Roman is on the card, it would just by default be Roman Reigns that would main event whatever card that he was on. But out of all of these, it would most likely be CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, but I don't think that happens until WrestleMania. So if I'm using logic here, process of elimination, I'm going to go with Damian versus Finn because that would be a heck of a closer for Bad Blood. Dominik Mysterio is a bitch, but also a glory-chasing coward. Don't you dare besmirch the name of Dominik Mysterio. That man is a hero. That man is a national treasure. That man did nothing wrong. He did the thing that any guy probably would have done in his situation. He saw the girl that was treating him well, giving him chicky nuggies, getting him a PS5, about to lose, about to be hurt, about to get hit by a chair, and he stepped in like a valiant, gallant gentleman. He was the cavalry for Liv Morgan. He stopped that ruthless Rhea Ripley from doing something that would permanently damage poor Liv Morgan. I see Dominik Mysterio as not the villain of this tale, but the hero, the tragic hero that unfortunately people like you, Freya, see as the villain. So I will not allow any sort of negative talk. I will not allow any sort of belittlement, and I will certainly not allow any slander to my Dom. Fire PLE, only complaint is the long ass runways to the ring. Dude, absolutely, I actually do agree with you here because like you'd hear the pop of like a shock entrant and then, oh my God, it's Roman Reigns. We gotta wait 45 hours for him to get to the ring. It's Randy Orton. We gotta wait for him to sprint down, and he'll be here in 3 to 5 business days. Roman Reigns' return didn't do anything for me. However, it was the audience cheering him for the first time in 4 years. I don't know what 4 years you're talking about, because we were not cheering for him 4 years ago. The ones that were cheering for him were the ones that were brainwashed into cheering for him by that WWE corporate umbrella agenda. But this is a properly over, not manufactured top babyface in the company. So good luck, Cody Rhodes, because you just got outshined, in my opinion, when it comes to the realm of babyfaces in the WWE now. Gunther winning with interference puts an asterisk on his win, and he deserves not to have that. Should have saved it for a clean win for his first world title. I kind of get where you're coming from, but let me play devil's advocate in this situation here. I think that we have a different type of Gunther that we did 5 months ago, 6 months ago, during his historic Intercontinental Championship reign. This is a proper heel Gunther, when before, when he was Intercontinental Champion, yes, he was a heel based on the character dynamics that he was placed in his feuds, but he was a heel simply because he was better than you, he would tell you that he's better than you, and then he would back it up in the ring by beating you, thus proving he was better than you. That was the only reason why he was a heel per se, but he didn't really have any particularly like overt heel tendencies. In the lead up to Damian Priest versus Gunther, we had like a proper Gunther as a heel for the first time, if you think about it, calling people street trash, saying that Damian Priest is lower than anything on the totem pole, that he doesn't deserve this, that everyone in the Judgment Day is a loser street thug. He said all of the terrible things to make him like a traditional heel in that heel face dynamic. And if he's now actually exerting, the traditional heel tendencies, then winning by underhanded means with interference fits Gunther a bit more now than it would have back when it was his Intercontinental Championship reign. I hope that made sense. I was trying to explain myself, and I know I can get a little bit yappy. Punk looked fantastic last night. He held his own and didn't get hurt. I'm excited for what will be his last in-ring run. I lost my voice singing Cult of Personality. CM Punk, for those that know the lore of this channel, is really important to the lore of this channel, because I got back into professional wrestling in 2011 and it was bad. It just wasn't very good. And there was one shining star amongst honestly just terrible WWE TV, and that was CM Punk. And CM Punk was so good that he convinced me to stick it out with WWE, and here I am to this day, still a WWE fan, now talking about professional wrestling as my job. So CM Punk holds a special place in your boy's heart. So to get to see Cult of Personality live, to sing it, to see his first singles televised match in the WWE in 10 years was a surreal moment that I almost don't want to watch the TV version of it, because I want my own memory, my own version of seeing it live to be the only thing that I remember from this. But I think that he looked great. Clearly he was over. People were loving CM Punk, but more than anything, man, like this guy he just has something that's intangible. It's just an ability to be able to manipulate an audience to any sort of emotion and reaction that he wants, and he exuded that perfectly throughout this match. Cody has been outshined by Roman Reigns. Even if Cody is still holding the title, Roman should main event Mania. It's very clear that even with Cody Rhodes there, the top priority will always be Roman Reigns if Roman Reigns is available and around to be used. This entire feud was just a setup for the return of Roman Reigns, because there were better feuds, multiple of them, that could have been in this main event spot. But had it not been just for the prospect of a potential return of Roman Reigns, this feud wouldn't have been in the main event of SummerSlam. And it's weird to say, considering Cody's the top babyface of the company. I just don't think that he had enough to carry this to the main event without the prospect of Roman Reigns coming back. And I think that speaks volumes as to who should be main eventing and closing WrestleMania. I think it's going to be something related to Roman Reigns, as opposed to something being built around Cody Rhodes this time around. And now that they're both technically baby faces, it's going to make it even more difficult for Cody Rhodes Rhodes to be the one that closes out WrestleMania. That was the greatest SummerSlam of all time. Good Lord. I still think that 2002 is the greatest SummerSlam of all time, but this is up there for me. I do think it's the best SummerSlam in the past 20 plus years, since 2002. Since 2002, I cannot think of a SummerSlam that was this good, that was this consistent from head to toe, that had all of the right booking decisions. I really think that this is the second greatest SummerSlam of all time. I'm saying it. It's number 2. And that's a really impressive feat, considering SummerSlam is one of WWE's longest running branded PLEs, pay-per-views, whatever you want to call it. Jelly Roll's chokeslam was the best moment of the show. I actually really like this. I'm glad that they didn't decide to do a musical performance mid-show like they did with the Royal Rumble with Hardy. So I do appreciate that, but I did like Jelly Roll's involvement because it wasn't anything like a Jon Stewart in a match that would ruin a major moment. It was just a fun moment that didn't overstay its welcome. So shout out to Jelly Roll for playing along and delivering that awesome chokeslam. The best match on the card was Logan Paul versus LA Knight. The spots in the match were amazing. Logan needs to be actually on WWE more, as he is an incredible athlete and still can get even better with experience and possibly a future Hall of Famer. I'd be very curious when it comes to Hall of Fame expectations with Logan Paul. Should we be looking at his in-ring body of work and what he's done in terms of accolades, or do we treat him like a celebrity? Because if it's as a celebrity, then he's a slam dunk. I would say he's one of the most, if not the most important celebrity involvement that the WWE has had, at the very least in the last 20 years. However, he is also incredibly controversial, and I'm sure that that's gonna weigh heavily when it comes to making that decision. But in terms of the match, Logan Paul versus LA Knight, it wasn't my favorite match, but it was my most surprisingly good match. I felt like this match could have easily been bad because I just didn't think that Logan's and LA Knight's style would mesh well, but it blended perfectly, and the chemistry that these two guys had was truly phenomenal. This was my pleasant surprise of the evening. I loved how good this match was. I loved the booking decision, and this could have easily been a match where they say, oh, well, you know, it's okay that LA Knight lost. We can just wait till the next PLE or the next PLE, or maybe we're just building up to WrestleMania in classic long-term storytelling fashion that we've been accustoming ourselves and telling ourselves is perfectly fine, when in some cases it's not. And I think this was a case that you just needed to pull the trigger right on day one. LA Knight winning the US title makes up for everything over the past 2 years. Look, I'm glad that everyone that loves LA Knight is happy. I'm happy for LA Knight. I'm sure my co-host of Wrestling is Cool, known as the biggest LA Knight glazer of all time, is going to be happy as well. Look, this is so well deserved for LA Knight. I think that this is the route he should have gone first before going after Roman Reigns and the Undisputed Championship, but I'm glad that we were able to circle back around and give him this first major title victory in the WWE. Roman's return meant that Cody and Solo had the main event, but my God, that match was so dull for 90% of it. I don't think that it was particularly dull. I think that the expectation of Bloodline rules might have people to believe that it's going to be like a violent street fight, but Cody versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40 wasn't that. It wasn't this violent street fight. What Bloodline rules ended up becoming was this overbooked crazy mess towards the end, and I think that's going to be the identity of Bloodline rules and why people will look forward to Bloodline rules. I think what you saw was what a Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa match would be without Bloodline rules up until all of the interferences started to happen. And if you didn't like it, then it's probably why a lot of people didn't want this to main event. But the addition of Bloodline rules, the prospect of Roman Reigns coming back, all of the compounding interest of potential surprises and booking decisions that could come alongside this match that, again, not a lot of people in terms of in-ring body of work were particularly super excited about, still made it main event worthy. Jake Paul should have been involved in Logan's match. I actually thought that he was going to be. I thought that when it was Mr. Cleveland, that it was going to be Jake Paul. It's everyday, bro, with the Disney Channel flow. 5 mil on YouTube in 6 months. Never done before. Past all the competition. I'm not going to sing the whole thing. I weirdly know all of it's everyday, bro. It would have been cool to see Jake Paul, yes. It would have been even better if Jake Paul came out and he also got his ass beat by LA Knight. All right, folks. Thanks so much for sending in your hot takes. Take care. Goodbye. All right. See you. Get out of here.